Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tribe of Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Emmy Kirshner. On today's show, I interviewed Dan Lievens. He's a business consultant with over 20 years of experience in early stage companies, and his passion for understanding why entrepreneurs leap into their uncomfort zone to create the businesses they do has led him to creating The Proof, a video production company that helps entrepreneurs understand their why and share it with the world. I had the opportunity to stand on his stage at the end of April, and I have to say it was one of the most amazing experiences that I've had in a really long time. And he is such a visionary in his concept in helping entrepreneurs have a voice. I loved what he had to say in this interview. It was fascinating. So listen in. My name is Emmy Kirshner. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. The one thing that I get asked all the time is, how do you achieve success in business and make an impact? In each episode of the Tribe of Leaders podcast, you'll hear from entrepreneurs and visionaries who share how their leadership has changed not only their lives, but the lives of everybody around them. Hey, everybody. I am with Dan Lievens today of The Proof, and super excited to have you on the show today, Dan. You and I have kind of, crossed paths a number of times over the last couple of years in different ventures, and I'm actually going to be on your stage in a few weeks when we're recording this. I think it'll be live after that. But share with everybody a little bit about really what I think is probably one of the most interesting, most visionary concepts that I have heard of in a long time.
Emmy, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. This is wonderful. Yeah, so it's an interesting story because I've been surrounding myself with entrepreneurs and startups my entire life. And I've had different ventures, including incubators, accelerators, and co-working facilities and whatnot. And out of all that became a little bit of a frustration of working with entrepreneurs that have great visions. Mm-hmm. And, entrepreneurs to me are the reason why we have an advanced society. We have a loose nut in our heads, I think, because we are willing to sacrifice so much to pursue a dream. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for that sacrifice, if it wasn't for identifying a problem that we're passionate about, we wouldn't be in change, right? Right. And that's such a beautiful, beautiful space to come from. It's like, we go against the grain and we see this huge, huge endeavor that we want to undertake. And a lot of times it's so hard to communicate that. And my challenge has been, working with entrepreneurs, like once you really get to know them and understand where they're coming from, it's like, wow, like what a beautiful story. What a passion. But yet they're so close to it that it's hard for the rest of the world to kind of catch on and understand. Yeah. So the genesis of The Proof is really to help people message their vision in a way that others can consume. And it's also a platform, a physical stage, as well as a digital stage where they can kind of tell that story.
So I think that's amazing. And I love that because I know even in my journey and most of the people that I coach, we've got these gigantic ideas. We're not supported by friends and family frequently. They think we're a little wacky. And we're doing things that are so innate or intuitive that it's harder to communicate them really clearly. But to be able to come and have that place where you can talk about your vision and why it's so important to you, I think that opens up like a whole new understanding and a whole new conversation.
Yeah, to your point, my mom still asks me, she's like, what do you really do?
I don't think my mom has an idea, but yeah, same. My dad gets it just because he's done so many things over his life. But yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating. So the way that we capture these messages there's no gimmicky, there's no gimmicks, there's no fancy graphics or anything like that. We try and create these timeless pieces of basically the inspiration that entrepreneurs draw on. Mm-hmm. There's a series of events or there's a through line. So if you look at all the decisions that you made throughout your life, you look at all the different events that have happened throughout your life and the way that you treat them, the way that you react to them, the way that you respond to them, and the way you make decisions because of them, there's a through line in that. And that through line really kind of makes you that's your why. That's like why you do things. And what we do is we kind of find that through line through a process of discovery.
Yeah.
And that's the story. That's the through line is the story. And it's that passion that you draw back to when things aren't going well for you. Like, when you get offered a beautiful, amazing job in corporate America, you say no, because I'm going to continue doing this thing that's not even paying me yet.
Yeah.
That inspiration, there's a story behind it. And for us, it's like, well, let's tell that story. And that's a vulnerable, very authentic story. And it's not always, rainbows and unicorns. It's sometimes very painful. However, it gives you that ability for another human being to truly connect with you. Mm-hmm. And, it builds that visceral connection to you. And that's marketing, right? To be able to build that relationship with somebody, for somebody else to truly understand why you do what you do. Once they understand that, once they're comfortable with you, then you can start talking about, what the what is, right? And to me, the AT&Ts of the world, they can't tell that story today, but entrepreneurs can. And that's what we focus on.
Yeah. And, I was talking about this with somebody else recently where it really, for me at least, having these types of conversations, not only does it build the authenticity, but it changes the conversation just out there in the world when we can all connect on a deeper level. And I think providing stage and having the audience, particularly, like now you start to have the ripple effect, because somebody or somebody's out there is going to connect with one of those speakers' stories and have that Me Too moment where, like, I'm experiencing the same thing this person did.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially today with all the noise that's out there. And so much of it is fear-based, do this or else, a sale ends, or there's just so much noise out there. And we're dripping out content that's real. It's emotional. And we actually have a litmus test that we use to gauge whether our proof stories are good or if they're a real proof story. And it's the acronym of RAD. Is your story RAD, R-A-D? And R stands for relationship. So by telling the story, is it going to attract the love of your life? Is it going to make your relationships better? Mm-hmm. The A stands for amplification of your bottom line or your purpose, your belief, whatever you're driving forward today. And I think most importantly is a D. Although morbid, it stands for death. And basically, once you die and you were to play this 3-minute message at your funeral, does it still make sense? And if we can check all 3 boxes, then we've done our story. And yes, so it is a very powerful, emotionally engaging story that's timeless. And to me personally, if one of our stories can influence somebody to make the right decision as opposed to the wrong one, or inspire somebody to get off the couch and do something positive, that's it. I'm happy.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. So let me ask you this. What is your big vision with the proof? Like, where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years with it, where you're starting right here, outside of Philly with one stage?
That's a really, really good question. And we're still at an infancy stage right now. And to be perfectly honest, and I think part of the reason that we feel this way, we feel like it's not within our control. Okay. And actually, for a few weeks on our website, my wife and I called ourselves guardians of the proof, because we really believe that it's not about us. It's about the community. It's about the conversation. It's about all the people that are coming in and having these conversations. And so it's growing at a level to where I don't know where it's going to go. If you asked me 3 months ago, would we be where we are today? I would have said there's no way, but we are. We've got 40 speakers lined up already from all over the world, right? So to ask me what it's going to be like in 5 years, I don't know. My altruistic vision is that, there's something amazing about giving people a platform to share what really matters. Mm-hmm. And it's the human side of things. It's not an idea. It's not a what, but it's really an inspiration. It's part of, your contract, like your purpose, your calling. Ideally, if there's a platform everywhere where anybody can get up and just declare this, that would be absolutely amazing. And to me, if everybody can stand within their power, if everybody can look inside of them and say, shine a flashlight and say, hey, this is why I've been put here. This is my real calling. And this is my gift to the rest of the world. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing this. I think we'd live in a very different world. So being able to give this formula It's not really even a formula. It's just, I guess it's just the process and the platform to everybody, I think would be in a whole different place.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's really important. I think there's so many cool stories that we're not hearing that can't make their mark, if you will, until they're heard. And there's something about being on stage and having that connection too. So really cool. Who would make a good proofer for you? Like, who are you really looking for, outside of like the entrepreneur, somebody who has the story that they want to share?
I think I've gone through this in my life as well. You spend the first, and I think I'm stealing this from somebody that I've had a conversation with, but it totally resonates. You spend like the first part of your life, whether it's half of your life or 2/3 of your life, working and learning and taking in and doing the what's. Mm-hmm. And at some point in your life, you start thinking, it's like, okay, I think it's time for me to teach. It's time for me to inspire. And that window of transition could be years.
Right.
And some people might never make the transition, but it's the people that are recognizing that, hey, I have something to offer. I have a gift. Mm-hmm. And typically the gift looks like, and we ask this as well, is like, what would happen if the entire world were to embrace my gift?
Right.
And if the answer to that isn't world peace,
which is my favorite.
Right. So people that recognize that they're here for something greater or have something greater that they're trying to get out there, mm-hmm. those are the people we really want to work with, because they're kind of ready to step up. And as you said earlier, it's not just about discovering a story and telling a story. There's a physical aspect of moving your body physically onto a stage in front of a live audience with 5 cameras on you, and you're basically proclaiming your purpose.
Yeah.
And when you do that, like the way it just sinks in you is like, it's like, holy moly, like I am now this person and I have a responsibility.
Yeah. It's like drawing the line in the sand.
Yep. And guess what? The world's going to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Because it's all over the internet.
Yeah, exactly. People will check up on you.
Yeah.
That's, at least for me, like, not the accountability part, because I'm pretty true to my word. Like, I do what I say, what I'm going to do is to the best of my ability.
Yes, you are.
But I think having that thing out there that anybody can see and then follow you and really get to know you from, social media or internet land is really cool, because then you just can keep impacting and impacting and impacting. And, and I talk about even, things from when I was health coaching, where like one of my recipes made it from Phoenixville to Texas to California. And, I'd never met any of these people.
Right. Yeah, it's that ripple effect. And part of our purpose is, how do we amplify that? You are that stone in that calm lake, but how do we really make that impact, and how do we throw you in a bunch of lakes, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what our platform is. We give you visibility through all of our channels. So there's, of course, a lot of marketing and technical things behind the scenes, but that's just it. That ripple effect started, and how do you keep it going?
Yeah. Very cool. And why did you decide to do this over something else? Like, as opposed to, for instance, maybe just doing more video, or, why the combination of the video and being on stage, and having the live component as opposed to just doing online?
That's a good question. Actually, all of this started as a video production company.
Okay.
And we wanted to tell stories. We wanted to tell meaningful stories. But as a video production company, we were approached saying, hey, we need a video on our About Us page.
Okay.
And I'm like, why? For who is this for? Is it for you, or is it somebody else? Because I can guarantee you not many people are going to watch it, and it's not going to be that impactful. And so that kind of started this whole, how can we really be more on purpose? How can we really be more impactful? Uh-huh. And it's an exercise that we did. Is this story actually stems even further back. Before we got into a video production company, we were doing a lot of things. We were doing marketing, we were doing accounting, bookkeeping, all of that as an agency. And we slowly looked at everything we did on a daily basis and said, where are we making the biggest impact? And where do we feel like we can, it resonates with us? Mm-hmm. So we'd look at different things and say, this doesn't feel right. Doing SEO and the mechanics of conversion and all that, it's important, but there are people out there that are much better than us. That's not where we shine. And for us, it's like, when we really jump into somebody's business or even a person, and we get goosebumps thinking and talking to them about their purpose.
Yeah.
And, we become like elevated, right? And, I call it 100X. It's like the impact that I can have to help you is 100X when I have goosebumps on my arms talking to you. So can we just function at that level and forget everything else?
Right.
And that's kind of where it all began, is like, how can we continue to have these goosebump conversations and only do that?
Yeah.
So it was a slow progression of storytelling to, deep dives. And, to your question about the live audience, I think there's something important about the credibility and the proclamation. I keep using the word proclamation. It might be a little bit strong, but it is that. Like, once you stand in front of a live audience, you can't go back. You can't hit, stop and re-record or any of that.
Yeah.
So there's authenticity behind it. Plus, who doesn't like a live audience, right?
Right. Well, I love it. I love seeing that, like, the energy that everybody brings, but I speak for, part of my business. So for somebody who has a story that they want to tell, do they have to be a speaker to be on your stage?
No. As a matter of fact, most people that have been on our stage aren't speakers.
Yeah.
And they're kind of afraid about the speaking part. So a lot of people are like, hey, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone. And we never really thought about that. Like, to me, it's not really about being a speaker. It's about getting heard. It's about getting seen. And yeah, it requires speaking, and yeah, it requires an audience. So I guess that's called speaker.
Well, maybe this is the launching pad then for creating, so many new speakers who then can share their why and their purpose in a different way and in context with whatever it is they do professionally. Because my understanding too is that a lot of the people that are on your stage, their why, while it directly relates to whatever they're doing and what motivates them, it may not look like that for the outside person. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And a few people that have gone through our process have looked at what they're doing and changed it as a result.
Okay.
Again, like, most of us are so close to what we're doing, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's great that we're so ingrained and in the weeds, I guess. And we don't really look at the bigger picture. And, through our process of discovery, it's like, wow, okay, I never saw it like that. I never realized that, because of the bike that my parents bought me when I was 10 years old has an impact on how I am today, right? Yeah. So that through line of, as my wife calls it, it's like a pearl necklace.
Right.
You have a string, and that's kind of your through line. And then every event and every decision is another pearl that you get to add on this necklace that you wear. And it doesn't change, but you can keep adding to it and keep adding to it.
Right.
So yeah, people have looked at what they're doing and turn it around. Directions of their coaching, directions of their business, and even just completely changing the way they message to their customers. Mm-hmm. And say, hey, you know what? It's not about the what. It's not about this transaction or this deal. This is what I stand for.
Right.
And, when you have a conversation like that, it's like, okay, I'm not going to compare you to somebody else. It's not about the numbers at that point. It's about that emotional connection that I have with that person.
Right. Well, and, the discovery process that you took me through, it took me a couple of days to kind of grind through everything that we talked about, but it definitely gave me a much deeper clarity than I had before. It didn't really change my why, but it has helped me inform, like, how I want to do my marketing slightly differently. So that was just super helpful too. So thank you.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are really dialed into that, and, they know what the necklace looks like. They know the direction that they're going, and that's amazing. And we just want to be able to amplify it and, build more around that. So Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. For me, everything is evolution too. So It's like, what's the next step? What's the next step? But for somebody who maybe hasn't thought about that through line, as you were saying, having that, I think, is so powerful, because then it does allow you to become more aligned with your true purpose and then help more people.
Yeah.
And I think most people want to make some sort of positive impact, regardless of how they're doing it.
I would hope so.
Yeah, that's my little peace plan, at least. So,
tell anybody.
If you could have anybody on your stage, like tomorrow, right? Who would it be? Or there are a couple of people that you'd love to see, your dream people.
So that's a really, really good question. And we've had conversations like this with our head of marketing. She said, hey, you guys need to create a list of your absolute, top 10 people you want on your stage. And we started writing it. It was a great exercise. Mm-hmm. And even last night, I was having a conversation with my wife. I was like, who would you want? And, she said, Obama, Desmond Tutu, Dalai Lama, these very powerful figures. And yes, that would be cool. And to me, it's really about impact and change. And these people already have platforms to be heard. Mm-hmm. Well, ideally, right? Let's look at change. Let's look at impact. And we've got the elections coming up. Mm-hmm. And to me, if we could have every single presidential candidate go through our process and get on our stage, and not from a self-fulfilling perspective, but I don't really want to hear how they're going to spend their money and what their policies are going to be. I want to know why. I want to know why they're doing it. Mm-hmm. What's their underlying motivation?
Yeah. And that the process that you take everybody through before they even get into writing their talk would be, I think, very eye-opening.
It really would be. And I think we might have made some different decisions had we known the underlying reason and not necessarily motivation, but really where to come from.
Yeah.
And to be able to stand up to that responsibility, what had to happen? And what are the things that made that person the way they are? And to me, that would be a huge, being able to be fully emotionally at that visceral level connected to a candidate, I think would be really, really cool.
Yeah. Well, and easy to kind of weed some people out or in that you wouldn't expect.
Right.
So maybe you'll be doing like the political proof at some point.
Well, we so we have some rules about the proof talk, and the first 3 minutes, you're not allowed to talk about what you do at all.
Right.
And no politics and no religion for obvious reasons. So maybe a theme of politics, sure, but I'm not going to get into debates about politics on the stage.
No, I didn't mean, but just maybe some like senators
that would be cool.
What their stories are.
So to answer your question, yes, all presidential candidates.
There you go. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun.
I love it. Well, thank you for coming on. And you have a new group that you're just starting, right, on Facebook, that you're kind of inviting people in. Tell us about that and what you'd like to see happen with that.
Yeah, so we just started a new group on Facebook, and it's really, not everybody's ready for the stage, and not everybody's ready to go through that whole process. And, our overarching thing still is, my why is I want people to look inside. I want people to find what really drives them. Mm-hmm. And help them create some kind of a business around it so that they can make a living doing what their true calling is. Mm-hmm. So the Facebook group is entrepreneurs messaging their vision. And there's a URL for it. It's messageyourvision.com. Okay. And essentially, we want to start some conversations around the difference between your big vision and how do you message it. And that's the big challenge that I think a lot of people have is they have great visions about saving the world. But how are you going to do that? What's the next step? And how are you going to get somebody off the street within a matter of seconds to say, hey, yeah, I want some of that.
Right. Yeah. In our gnat-sized attention span world.
Exactly. And I think it takes a group. I think it takes a community to have that conversation because, again, as visionaries, we're like, well, of course we want to save the world. Well, of course this is it, right?
Or does it make sense to you?
Right. So to have other people kind of reflect back and give you some feedback, hey, this little thing that you said over here really resonates.
Right.
And so maybe we should paint our door, red instead of black. And how do you build that kind of momentum with messaging? So that's what that group is for. So encourage everybody to join that.
Yeah. I think that's super valuable too, because I don't think you ever master messaging. I think you can be really good at it, but you can always evolve, as I said earlier. And the feedback of having other people hear what you're trying to say and then give their input can only make your messaging stronger and improve it. So it's I think a brilliant concept, and I look forward to seeing kind of who shows up in there to play with.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you again for being here. Where can everybody connect with you?
I think the Facebook group would be a great place. We have a portal, websites, witnesstheproof.com. And yeah, probably just Facebook or come to one of our events. We're always looking for audience members to come out right outside of Philly. So absolutely. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. And for those of you who want to check out the Facebook group, the link is going to be in the show notes. So scroll down and you will find it there. So awesome. Again, thank you. And thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you next week. As an entrepreneur, do you ever feel isolated, like you're just grinding away and not getting to the place or reaching the goals that you want? Maybe you've realized that you just spent days, weeks, or even months trying to accomplish something only to figure out that the answer that you have would have saved you all of that time. I know I've had that experience and my clients have as well. And that's why I created the Tribe of Leaders Biz School. Get the accountability, the training, and the knowledge base in a community of like-minded people who are there to support you. Go ahead and check it out. It's thetribeofleaders.com.